Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year 2016. I can't believe it's already 2016. And I hope everyone has a wonderful year full of many wonderful blessings. So, today we're going to do our fourth part of our dictionary word section, where we're just going to look at 7 to 8 words that I found in the dictionary that I think are wonderful words in terms of great definitions. They're also great origins, and they're just great, interesting words. So we'll jump right into those. My pen has been really slow today. I don't know why it's not really working properly, but that's okay. We'll just use the dictionary to look up the words if I start having trouble writing on this pad. So let's start. The first word, let's see if I can write. Yeah, it's kind of, don't know why this is happening, but, oh, here, the first word uh, is, well, we know it starts with an M. Let me try it once more. Yeah, okay, it's not really gonna work. Um, what I can do is do this, put it on a sticky note. So the first word today is going to be mutual. Okay, and it's not mutual as in mutual, but it's mutual, it's pronounced the same way, and it comes from Latin, so we can look it up. Okay, let's bring this into the middle. Mutual basically comes straight from Latin, like straight, just Latin, and that's what makes it a good word, especially a good spelling word. Also, it has to do with architecture. You can see it's a flat block projecting under the corona of the Doric cornice. The Doric is the kind of, I think, a style of pillar in, ancient, those big ancient buildings. So it's a architecture kind of word. And this word, follows a lot of Latin rules. First of all, in Latin, the oo sound, which we have twice here, mutual, is always going to be spelled with just a u. This is very common in Latin words. We see it in the word community, just a lot of Latin words. The u represents the oo sound. Nope. The ch. Okay, so lots of Latin words have the tu for the ch sound. So we have like spatula, or mutual, or things like that. Lots of Latin words use the tu for the ch sound, and so it shouldn't be any surprise that it's the same thing here. This happens in Latin a lot. So the tu can represent the ch sound, the ch sound, and then the du can represent the j sound, the j sound, as in individual. See, we don't spell that with the j, we spell it with the du, right? individual. So here it's kind of the same thing. It's with the tu, we have the ch sound, mutual. Also, ule is a very common Latin ending. It's a very common ending in general, and it kind of makes something into a noun. So mutual, it should be clear that it ends in a ule because that's a common ending. Okay, so that was the first word. Let's see how we're going to do this. We can make this into a giant thing here. Let's change the color to blue. Okay, mutual. Word number 2, ekhimi. Okay, so this word is ekimi. Okay, ekimi. It comes from a native name in Africa. We're not sure exactly which African language, but it comes from a native name, so you can assume it's maybe from a tribal language. It's a kind of wood, okay, the grayish-brown coarse-grained wood of a tropical African tree. Spelling-wise, there aren't many rules governing African languages because there are so many and they're very varied and they have a wide range of spellings, so it's not like we have a concrete set of rules for these words. But one thing we can notice is the EME ending is quite common, not only in African but in many languages. So when you have the long E sound, see the E with the line on top, we're going to spell that with an I. So ekimi, in both those long E's are spelled with an I. The KH, there's not much that can explain it. It's just something you kind of have to know for this word, and that's why I picked it, because the rules aren't really going to help us here because we just kind of have to know the word in order to spell it properly. So the KH is there for the K sound. Don't show this message again. And then the short E sound right here, that's going to be a simple E. So don't try to overcomplicate this word. This is a very simple word. Again, it comes from a native name in Africa. So keep it simple. The only tricky thing here is the KH for the K sound. And that's just the only thing you need to look out for. Okay, so that was word number 2. We can write little notes here. That could be helpful. Mutual, a note, it's Latin. It has that TU for the CH sound. Okay, let's see. And the common ULE ending. Ekimi, it's from native African language. The long E is spelled with I twice. And the KH is tricky part. That's the only thing you need to know for this. Oof. Okay, word number 3 is something that actually follows the rules. It's Rauschquinta. Rauschquinta, if you can go ahead and guess the language that you think this is from, because it's pretty obvious. Rauschquinta, have you guessed yet? Okay, it's German, and that's pretty clear given the spelling of the word, because this word really, really sticks to the German rules. In German, Rausch means reed, quinta means fifth, as you can kind of guess using that common Latin root, quint meaning 5. And one thing with German words is a lot of them are compound words. A lot of them are compound words. So here we have like fifth reed, like reed fifth, Rausch, and then quinta. They put together and you get Rauschquinta. So it's something in music for sure. It's a 2-rank mixture stop in a pipe organ. It's a very interesting definition. The thing here, why is it German? Several reasons. First of all, the ow sound is going to be spelled with an AU almost all the time in German. The ow sound is AU. The sh sound is universally almost spelled SCH. Almost always. You can go back to the German videos and revisit those if you want to, double check on that. But, in German, the SCH is so common. It's just really common. And then the quinta, the QUIN part should be rather self-explanatory once you understand the definition too. And if you know it has the root fifth in it. And then the one important thing about German, which we talked about, which is not that common in other languages, is that when the word ends in a schwa, it's going to end in the letter E, as opposed to the letter A, which happens in most other languages. So in German, we have words like Blinze, right? Like BLINTZE. So it's not pronounced blintz, it's pronounced Blinze. So here, the schwa at the end of German words are always spelled with an E. So Rauschquinta, it's a very German word. Obviously, we have the AU, we have the SCH, the quin meaning fifth, and the E for the schwa ending is very German. So that is word number 3. I wonder if I can bold. Yes, I can. I can bold the words. Okay. Now, word number 4, let's put it in bold, ADELANTADO. Go ahead and guess the language of this too. I think it's pretty clear. It's Spanish. It's pronounced adelantado. Adelantado, and this one is also a good follower of the rules, of the Spanish rules. I think the definition is really interesting. It's a civil and military governor of a province in Spain or her colonies, so it's a broad enough definition, and it's an interesting one. And yes, like I said, this follows a lot of Spanish rules. We have the A is it's going to be spelled with an A. We can see that here and here, so it happens twice. The ADO, and so many Spanish words, so that's a very common thing. Everything else is pretty much, all the consonants are spelled how they would sound. The only tricky thing about this word is probably the E here for that mini schwa. That mini schwa, it pretty much means that you say it so fast that you kind of skip over it. So it's adelantado, adelantado, like you can barely hear the schwa. So the important thing is to remember that it has an E in it. And if you look at the origin, it comes from Spanish adelantar, meaning to put ahead or advance, and this actually comes from the Latin ante, meaning before or in front of you. But the way I like to remember it is it kind of looks like it has Like the word delay could come from the same root. I don't think it does, but it's a good way to remember it as a mnemonic. See, so it means to put ahead or advance, kind of put it off, put it in front of you. So if you think of the word delay, um, you can remember that this little schwa is an E. That's how I do it. So, that's the only tricky thing about this word. Everything else is pretty self-explanatory, very Spanish word. You have the A for the ah sound. You have the ADO ending. You have normal consonants. What I mean by that is the duh sound is spelled with a D, the t sound is spelled with a T, the l sound is spelled with an L. Very normal. And then the little schwa is with an E. So you can remember the word delay to help you as a mnemonic to remember that. And if you remember that, you should be good with the rest of the words, or the rest of the letters in the word, the spelling of the word. Okay, word number 5. I really like this one too. It's Causse. It's a very French word. I'll go ahead and tell you the origin. And it's pronounced as it would be in French. It's pronounced cos. See how short that pronunciation is? Cos. But there's 6 letters to spell it. It's French. It comes from Latin calcinus, meaning limestone, from Latin calc. That's kind of where calcium comes from. And so obviously we're going to have something with limestone. It's a small limestone plateau, deeply pitted with sinkholes, common in south central France. So again, this word just points to how important Latin is in the Romance languages and how French has been so influenced by Latin. But it has typical French rules, this word. The O sound, there are so many ways to spell the O sound in French. There's just so many ways, I can't even get started. You can go back to the French video and see how many ways there are. There's like EAU, in the, as in plateau. There's OT for words that, to end some words, as in Pinot, P-I-N-O-T. There's just, making sure that's a word. Yeah, that's a word. There's so many ways to spell O sound in French, but the thing is, usually if the O sound occurs in the middle of the word, it's going to be spelled with an AU. Because those other fancy spellings, the EAU, the EAUX, the OT, those are usually if the O happens at the end of the word. If you think about it, here it would make no sense to have EAU for the O sound, because that would make the C soft. It would become SOS, not COS. So EAU is not an option. If you have the OT there, that makes no sense at all. It would look like COTSSE, COTS. It doesn't make sense. So that's not an option. So the only viable way to spell the O sound in the middle of the word here, in this word, is AU. And that happens in other French words as well. If it's in the middle, you'll usually spell it with an AU, or even just a simple O, but don't try those fancy spellings. So go back to the French videos and review that, because I think I've gone into more detail on that. And there's some better examples as well. The S at the end, we know lots of French words end in an E, and that's why we double the S, because we know there's an E coming. If we just had CAUSE, that would be the word cause, but it would also, if it was French, it would be pronounced cause, right? It would be a Z sound. So if we want to keep this S soft and have it make the S sound instead of the Z sound, we have to double the S, okay, in order to keep that sound. So that's why we have 2 S's and that E that is very common in French words. So this is a very, very typical French word. So I'm going to say that, AU in the middle, the double S to keep soft sound, the E at the end, and it's your typical French word. Okay, typical French word. Okay, our next word, we have 2 more. This one is a lot of fun. It's TSUKUPIN, and this one is Sukapin or Tsukapin. So 2 ways to pronounce it. It comes from a native name in the Yap Islands. The Yap Islands are like part of the Oceanic language branch, like the language that they speak in the Yap Islands. I think it's called Japanese or something like Yapese. But it's very similar to the Oceanic language branch, sort of. I think it's kind of near the Philippines, but it's not, it's kind of like the oceanic languages that we covered. Polynesian, um, mm, you know, Tahitian, kind of like that. But spelling rule wise, I mean, it's a great definition. It's a large sailing canoe, so it's a boat. Um, Triangular sail and a single outrigger. It's a great word. So the tricky part of this word is one thing comes to mind, and no, it's not the TS. This is actually pretty simple because if you ask for the alternate pronunciation, um, you'll know that it starts with a T because you have sukapin and then you have tsukapin. So it's quite clear that this is a TS. Um, the oo sound, the U with two dots, is going to be spelled with the U, obviously. That's the way it's spelled in most languages. So the su is going to be TSU. The K, remember lots of these Polynesian languages love using K. That's like their letter. They don't use C that much, they use a K. And then the pin part is easy too. The pin is PIN. The only tricky thing about this word that I think makes it a good word, or a good candidate for a spelling bee, is the schwa here is spelled with a U. Sukapin. Literally, that could be anything. It could be TSUKI, KO, KA, but it's a KU. So that's what makes it a little tricky, because usually the schwa isn't usually spelled with a U, but here it is. So that's the only thing that makes it a little tricky. So again, TS, ask for the alternate pronunciation. That's always going to help you. Um, we have the K, is common in these kinds of words. The pin is self-explanatory. The tricky part, I think, is that the schwa is a U, and U is spelled with U. Okay, so sukapin. Just remember that the schwa is the U. Okay, and our last word for today, it's one I love. Can you try and pronounce that? Let's see what it's pronounced. Bondon. It's pronounced bondon. It's not bondon, it's bondon. And just by hearing it, you can probably guess that it's from French, which it is. It's a kind of cheese, and cheese words are great. There's so many fancy cheese names that come from French. It's a cheese resembling a bung in form and made in Neuchâtel, France. Neuchâtel is also a great cheese word. It's been asked before in the spelling bee finals at Scripps. So cheese words are great, but the thing with this, it's very simple. In French, the on with the nasal is almost always spelled on. That's how they pronounce things too. Like for example, London is pronounced London in French. So this is kind of the same thing. It's just bon don. Don't complicate it. Just have the B and the D, and just know that your on is gonna make the on sound. So yeah, French bon don, literally bung, comes from Latin fundus, meaning bottom. Again, that Latin influence in the French word. But this is a fun way to end these words because it's a cute, nice French word. So it's a cheese, typical French word again, that on for the nasal sound. It's so common. Like London becomes London. In French, Boston is Boston. That's how you pronounce it. So again, this is a very French word and it's pronounced bon don. So keep it simple and use your French rules. So these are our 7 words for today. We've covered one from Latin, one from a native African language, then we have German, Spanish, 2 French ones, and one from a Yap language, which is an interesting one, oceanic language, which is Sukapin. And so these are all 7 of these are great words, just in general, just to talk about very interesting definitions and great candidates for spelling bees. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!